Are you looking for a quick and easy Christmas themed scarf? Well, you're in the right place. I'm going to show you how to make this easy to do scarf, and at the end I'll show you a few tricks when using the Michaels Loops and Threads circular knitting machine. Here are the tools you'll need to do the scarf. Michaels 40-pin circular knitting machine. I have a pair of scissors, I use the Fiskars, I have darning needle, metal bent tip. I will link all of those in the description box below. Red Heart Super Saver in red and white. Start off with your white yarn and cast onto your 40-pin machine. If you need a slower demo on how to cast onto the machine, I will link that video in the description box below. In brief, basically weave your yarn in and out of each pin front to back, all the way till you get to the first pin. First tip, if you have this machine, don't forget to use a counter. Continue with a total of 30 rows in white. Once you've gotten to 30 total rows, cut your yarn right before it gets to the next black pin. I don't leave a long length there. And add your next color, which is the red. Make sure it's under the black pin. Make sure your tension's right. Here's your next tip. I like to hold the two ends, and I'll do about 5 or 6 rows before I start to tie the two ends over here together to ensure they're secured. Crank a total of 240 rows of red. After 240 rows of red, add the white and do another 30 rows of white. Once you get to 300 rows, grab your scissors, cut about a foot off of your white yarn, and thread that with your darning needle. To cast off, go ahead and rotate it around and start picking up each of your stitches one by one with your darning needle. I like to go all the way around. Some people like to do it one at a time. When I was first starting off, I would only do a couple at a time because I was afraid of dropping stitches, but now I like to go all the way around, and I use my other finger to hold down in place the next stitch so that I don't accidentally drop it off the machine before I'm ready to get it with my needle. I'll just go around like this, slowly picking up each loop around. Continue doing that for a total of 40 pins if that's what you're using to make your scarf. And as a recap, we did 30 rows with white, then we switched colors to the red and we did 240 rows in the red, and then we switched colors again and we did another 30 rows in the white. Now if you want to make your scarf longer, you can always add more, and the key is just to have an even number of the white yarn at the ends, and you could even just keep 30 rows on each end with white if you like that, and just make the red longer if you want your scarf to be a lot longer. This scarf length is good for an adult, or it'd be really long for a small child, but it could work for that too. And in the next video, I will show you how to make the accompanying Santa hat that will match your scarf, your Christmas scarf. So when you're coming near the end here, I just crank around a little more, and as I said, hold down the next loops with your other hand while you pick up the loop one by one with your needle. And once you get to the end there, you'll have your final loop. Pull your needle through, and then at this point I don't need the darning needle, so I'll just take it off and tighten up that end. Move your machine out of the way. Your scissors. These are the Fiskars sewing scissors, really great for yarn. And go ahead and unravel your scarf here, which you probably did to keep it from bunching up in the machine. And find your other end. And what I like to do is find that other end and cinch it to make sure it doesn't come loose. So find the other yarn end and just pull that up, and just start like that. And then what you also want to do is find where you switch colors before you tighten it too much, and go in there and then just fix that up. See, this one wasn't tied yet, so you just want to make sure you secure that so that it looks seamless on the other side, but also you don't start losing stitches. Tell you how to make a pom-pom next. I think that's going to be helpful for you when you make your scarf, or even when you do a beanie. This part, working on the pom-pom here, and I attached one side already. I've already secured it, and I'll just cut the ends. But basically, to make the pom-pom, you're going to need your pom-pom maker. Grab your yarn, and what you'll do is just start wrapping the yarn around the pom-pom maker until it's as thick as it can go. And then once it's very thick, you'll go ahead and cut it, and then cure it with a separate piece of yarn in the middle And then attach it to the end of your scarf. Of course, you want to trim the pom-pom, make sure it's even. If you need a more detailed tutorial on how to use the pom-pom maker and make your pom-poms, I will go ahead and include that link in the description box below. It's pretty simple, and these pom-pom makers are really cheap and easy to find on Amazon. So I'll link the one I particularly have, which has really been easy to use and pretty cheap. It comes in 4 different sizes. So go ahead and make 2 pom-poms in the white color or color of your choice to make this Santa Christmas scarf. One tip when using the Michaels Loops and Threads circular knitting machine is to get yourself a digital row counter. The one I have works really well. It keeps count and is helpful when you're going to get up to 300 rows like you did for the scarf. I like to use these really thick scissors from Titan. They're actually made to cut bone and meat for the kitchen, but I find that when you're cutting your pom, it can be really hard to get your thinner scissors in there and to cut all the strands of yarn. So I actually use these really heavy-duty scissors to cut the yarn initially, and then I'll go back in with my finer sewing scissors to cut the details. And that just makes it easier for me to cut the yarn. So next you'll want to grab, so I have this really long length that came from the end of the scarf, and I'm just going to cut that. You want about 18 inches. Go ahead and wrap that around here. Usually like to stick this between my legs for some leverage, but since I'm showing it to you on the camera, I'll just do it like that. I just like to tie one knot there as tight as you can without breaking the yarn, which I have done before. And then go ahead and get the other side with a single knot there, and then bring it back around to the other side, and this is when I will double knot it. So make sure you get it as tight as you can without breaking your yarn, which is easy to do. And then go ahead and open up your pom-pom maker and just pull it apart. That's how that works. And next is to just trim the pom-pom to make it as even as possible. I'll use my finer needles here. I just get it as round as you can see it. Just kind of fluff it up here and there, and you'll see some stray yarn hanging about. You just want to cut those down so it's even. Get it at different angles too to make sure you're really seeing it. To round it out, and go ahead and attach it to the end of your scarf. I use a darning needle and I go back and forth, tie it real good. Make sure I tie it a couple times. I'll even string it back around, and I'll tie it real well to the end of the scarf and cut off the ends. Using the 40-pin circular knitting machine from Michaels Loops and Threads does make it a little difficult to use the white yarn here. The Super Saver is a little bit too thick for it, but I got it to work. You'll just need to have a little patience with it. The red yarn's a little bit thinner that I got, and that worked like a charm. Michaels Loops and Threads machine does prefer a thinner yarn, like a 3-weight or DK weight. Last tip, make sure you unravel your yarn from the skein before you start cranking it around. In the next video, I recommend you check this one out to see how you can make a matching Santa hat that's going to go perfectly with the scarf.